Okay, I'm going to read the statements that we need to hear. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A paragraph 18, and the governor's July 16th, 2022 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body. This meeting of the Housatonic Improvement Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.townofgb.org. For this meeting, members of the public and committee members may attend the meeting in person. That doesn't pertain. Or for those who wish to do so remotely, may by following the instructions at the top of this agenda. For those who are not in person, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. And then another statement, pursuant to MGL C30A section 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body or may transmit the meeting through any medium. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings, which I just did. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listings of agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. One of these days I'm going to record that so I don't have to read it every time. Okay, let's open the meeting with a roll call vote. Eric?
Aye.
My vote is aye. Louise?
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
Bev?
Aye.
Okay, so we open the meeting at 6:33. So I don't think we have any minutes to approve, so we'll skip that. And let's go right into committee vacancies. Late in the day today or midday, we all received an email from Patrick Barrett saying that he had a lot of other commitments and that he had to resign from our group. So let's take a moment and thank Patrick for what he's done as part of this group. He's done a terrific job and I thank him, and I thanked him when I spoke to him. So that leaves us 2 openings on this committee. And I wanted to let everyone know, if they don't know already, that we have 2 people who are interested in joining the committee. And I want to just open that up for discussion. And then maybe we can vote. Thoughts, anyone?
I think it's convenient. We got 2. We'll stay a full board or full committee and be able to forward with some new faces, new ideas. Bunch of energy. Love it.
Okay. Louise, Daniel, or Bev?
Yeah, I'm good with just going with the 2 people that have already put their name in the hat.
Okay. So we have 2 people. We have Ben Elliott and we have Scott Short. And so we would need a motion to make a recommendation to the select board to appoint those 2 interested people.
So I would like to make a motion to recommend Ben Elliott and Scott
Short.
Thank you, to the select board for the vacant positions on the Housatonic Improvement Committee.
Okay, is there a second?
It's to the,
Second it.
yeah, I was just gonna say the motion, it's actually to the town manager because it's his committee.
Oh, okay.
Are you okay if we amend that, Daniel?
I'm definitely okay to amend.
Okay. So Bev seconded it, and we need to do a roll call vote. So I'll start with Eric,
Aye.
and my vote is aye. Louise,
Aye.
Daniel,
Aye.
and Bev.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you to Ben Elliott and Scott Short. We'll send their names to Mark Pruhensky and then let you know or let them know when they can be official members, voting members of this group. So thank you. Okay, do we have Chris Rembolt here about
We
Cook's
do.
Garage?
We
Okay.
do.
Okay, so I want to introduce Chris Rembolt, the town planner, to talk to us about Cook's Garage, which we've been mentioning for several months now since the town took ownership of it at the town meeting in May. So Chris, if you're ready, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you.
Okay, thanks, Angela. Hi, everybody. Chris Rembold speaking. Can you hear me?
Mhm.
Indeed.
Great. So I'm the assistant town manager and director of planning and community development. So for folks who don't know Cook's Garage, the address is 426 Park Street. It's part of the old historic Monument Mills, one of the remaining buildings of the mills, just east of the river, between the river and Berkshire Pulse, for example, if folks know where that is, just east of the bridge. The town took ownership a couple of years ago through tax foreclosure process, and since that time has been using grant funds from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to do brownfield assessments to see if there is any contamination and if there is, to what extent it exists and how it can be cleaned up. What we've learned is really what we're dealing with here is just hazardous building materials like asbestos, and there were some oil tanks in the building which we had removed, but despite its name as Cook's Garage, there wasn't anything too scary, like gasoline spills or anything like that. So that's good. The building, as you may know, is a two-story, mostly brick building. It's about 17,000, 18,000 square feet per floor. It's 2 floors. So it's pretty large. I think the site is maybe over an acre, but it's a little bit landlocked. There is an easement through right along the river up to the Park Street Bridge there. So it does have an access easement to get to Park Street, but technically it's landlocked. There's not a lot of parking to it. Most of you probably know that there is a artesian well in the building, and it delivers what's estimated to be about 400 gallons per minute of crystal clear, beautiful water. And unfortunately, the ironic thing is for Housatonic is that the water cannot be a public drinking water source for 2 reasons. Number one, we don't actually know what the source is, although it's suspected that it is straight down into a fracture of the rock. It's actually below the river. It's not impacted by the river. It's below that. But so that's number one. What is the source? And number two, you'd have to protect the source by owning at least a quarter mile of around that wellhead, which would mean it might be a half mile, which would mean a lot of the entire village of Housatonic. So because you need to control what happens in that area so that the well doesn't get contaminated. So to be a public water source would be extremely next to impossible, unfortunately, because you can't protect and regulate the well. That being said, it's great water for commercial purposes, industrial purposes, maybe recreational purposes. If you don't drink it, I don't know. Recently, the town did secure some additional funding, some technical assistance, I should say, from the EPA. And that is to do a market study on the building. So we have consultants working. They're doing an analysis of the building and what it can offer in the marketplace for housing, for commercial space, for industrial space, for artist space. They're looking at all different kinds of uses, what the needs are in the area, and what the costs to deliver these spaces to market are, and possibly what sort of market appetite there is for various uses.
Chris, can I interrupt for 1 second? I'm just trying to take some notes. Who is supporting the technical assistance? Who's funding that?
US EPA.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
The EPA shares the town's general goal to take sites like the garage, like reed cleaners, brownfield sites that do or may have contamination, that have been abandoned for reasons, including contamination, and bring them back into some sort of community beneficial use. So the EPA is behind us with grant funds regarding assessment, regarding remediation, and regarding market study to see what the path forward is for this building, whether it's community serving use, community owned use, I should say, whether it's something that can be auctioned off or put out in an RFP process to the public for redevelopment by the private sector. So they'll be looking at all of those options so that the town, when we're ready, can do just that, can put it out to auction or RFP, soliciting a use or series of uses or users, potential owners, programming for the building, similarly to what we did with Housatonic School. So I would think that moving forward, the select board and this committee would work pretty closely to, like you did with Housatonic School, to look at the building and evaluate all the data and chart a path forward.
So Chris, I have a question, and that is, I know that the warehouse next to that parcel is currently for sale. I don't know if it's under contract or what the status of it is, but if it still is for sale, is it possible to bundle those two pieces of land together?
From a development point of view, it would make sense, because the warehouse space, the site of the old Barberry Mill, has, the parking, it has the land area where you would put the supporting accessory uses for the cook's garage use, whatever that is. It would make sense that they be programmed or designed and developed as a campus. That may or may not be possible, because the town does not control that large warehouse parcel. So that could be sold and something done with that tomorrow. And we can't control that.
Mm-hmm. And is there any access? I guess it would be on if you're facing the Pulse building from Park Street on the right-hand side, it seems to me there's enough room for a driveway to get to the back, or is that not the case? Or is the easement along the river the only access to that parcel?
The easement along the river is the only legal access that this building has to the road.
Okay. I just sort of jumped in. Does anyone else have questions?
I do. So Chris, when the EPA, they'll hand out a full report of their findings and suggestions of possibilities. That's the way that looks. So I'm assuming pretty detailed. And I guess how far does the EPA go? Would they just be like, so my first shop space when I first went on my own was in this building, and so that was 8-9 years ago, I guess. And so I know everybody was concerned about the Housatonic school roof, but I was 8 years ago. It used to rain inside my shop. That's why I ended up moving. So do we feel that the EPA would just be completely blunt about it needing to come down if they felt that was the only thing, or do they look at it just about, would they give resource like numbers to what it would take to restore? I guess how detailed do we think it would be, the report?
I think it's looking at potential reuses of the building. I think the direction that they have from my office is that the building, we're assuming the building stays and can be redeveloped, can be preserved. At the end of the day, this committee, the town may decide, no, we don't want the building anymore at all.
Mhm.
That's a discussion that we can have. But the market study consultant's charge is what sort of uses are desired, are needed, and what are the price points for those uses. Then we could take that, we could work maybe with another consultant, possibly. We could take that report and say, okay, well, the estimates to stabilize the roof, well, stabilize, rebuild, put a roof back on, parts of it, are X. And the market study points to the fact that you could get Y in rents. Clearly it could work financially, or clearly we're in a hole financially. We need to pour a lot of money into this building if we really want to preserve the building, for example.
So growing up, there used to be apartments and studios and offices on the second floor, and it was just an amazing space, right? Just an amazing location, and
Yeah.
so it would be great to save it. As far as, say, everybody's dreams come true, somebody comes in, with it being right on the river, what kind of, I hear people always talking about how like the Army of Engineers would need to be involved in, what kind of pathway would it be for, say, a serious renovation there, as far as permits and all that?
I don't think it would involve the Army Corps. You're probably not working in the river. From everything that we can tell from the opposite bank, from like the Muse building, the river wall of Cooks looks pretty good. So hopefully that wouldn't have to happen. You wouldn't have to work in what is effectively the riverbank. So, if we did that would be very difficult in terms of permitting and expense. So fingers crossed, that continues to be the case, that wall remains, intact and in good shape. In terms of permitting, because it's it's in the riverfront area, within 200 feet of a river, that generally means really extensive permitting through the Massachusetts Rivers Protection Act. But as a previously developed, historically developed area, you can essentially keep what has been developed and you can use that. There's permitting that has to happen, but it's not as if they say you can't use that space anymore. Same with the site next door. Even though the lumber mill is no longer there, it counts as historically or previously developed. You can still develop there. So that's good. The zoning is pretty conducive to a variety of different types of development possibilities: industrial, commercial, residential, mixed use, a mix of any of those. So that's good.
Chris, I have a couple of questions. So one is kind of a practical one. When that water bubbles up, where does it go? Is it going right into the river?
It does. There's basically an overflow drain in the building, and it just goes right into the river.
Okay. And what timeline is the marketing, the market study on?
I think we should have that in January, I would say.
Okay. And then what do you see the role of this committee being, if any?
I think that this committee plays a crucial role in reaching out to the village residents and stakeholders. So we may be organizing meetings like this or get-togethers. Maybe Party in the Park would be a great time to get folks together to chat, gather ideas. So I think that this committee could help with that engagement, with that outreach. Similarly to what you did with Housatonic School to inform the development of that request for proposal process.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions for Chris?
We got anybody, we got some attendees too. Do we want to open up to them as well?
Sure, if they have questions. And I want to thank Chris, by the way, for all the work he's been doing at his desk and behind the scenes to get to this point, because it's a huge amount of work.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Chris.
It's a gorgeous building. The views, Eric, as you know, and folks have been in there, the views out to the river are wonderful. The water is an interesting and incredible resource, the water in the building. You can't go upstairs in the building anymore. The staircase is kind of not safe. The roof of the second floor is collapsed in some places. So, there will be a timeline. If the building's to be saved, it should be done in in the near future. So hopefully we can move it along quickly, and there's interest in the community and or in the marketplace for a good reuse of this building.
Let me ask you, just when you say like commercial use of the water, I don't know if it was all above board or not, but when my shop was there, there's pool companies coming in to fill that. Would those be the kind of commercial uses, right? Like I guess what I'm asking is if a private company was to come in, since it's not a public utility, would they be able to bottle the water? Sell it or no? They have the
Probably
same
not.
sort of rules, right?
If it's for drinking,
No matter what.
yeah, unless you're, I don't know, maybe there's a way you can boil it on site or treat it. Maybe there's a way to
Get around it.
Yeah,
But when you say, I guess I just heard commercial, but it'd be basically like pools or something like that.
pools or, it was built for industrial processes. It was bleaching fabric or dyeing fabrics, basically. I think it was a bleaching house or picking house or something for the original fabric mills.
Think of that. Yeah.
So, maybe somebody's going to use the water to grow lettuce or farm fish or fill swimming pools. So there's some interesting possibilities out there. And hopefully one of the things you learn as you go out doing a market study and talk to the community and people who are interested is you get some great ideas. Yeah.
Okay, are there any other questions? Chris, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I'll keep in touch. I think it's probably easiest to keep in touch with Eric about where we are, and once the market study is ready, we can make that available. And then, I think chat with you, and you being the Housatonic committee and chat with the select board about what the next step should be.
Great, sounds good. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on our agenda is Party in the Park. And at the last meeting, I promised to check out what was happening in the Berkshires next June. And I did a little bit of research. I went to the One Berkshire website and looked at their calendar. I talked to Betsy Andrus at the Southern Berkshire Chamber of Commerce. And the only two things that are calendared right now are the Berkshire International Film Festival, which I don't think would interfere with our event, and the Lenox Rhubarb Festival. Betsy did mention, and I think this is absolutely true, we'd have to be careful of graduations and weddings, but those are usually towards the end of the month. So I think we're pretty wide open at this point for June, and it will be great, I think, to choose a date and just run with it, because we have to start locking in some of the people who we had lined up for the event that we postponed, and also find some others. So does anyone have anything else they want to add to that?
No, I agree that picking a date sooner than later would be good. I don't know, like you said, graduation stuff. I don't know when the official last day of school for K through 11th grade is, but I think I don't know, maybe Daniel would be better as far as, I think it might be smarter to keep it during this, like you said, in the beginning of the month before school and summer really kicks off and people are locals and everybody are looking to get out of town. So.
Yeah, so we have in June of 2023, this first Saturday is the 3rd, and then it goes 3, 10, 17, 24, and then the next Saturday is July 1st. So we have 4 Saturdays. Maybe the 3rd might be a little bit too early because it might not be warm enough, but we could probably look at the 10th or 17th. I'm a little leery to choose a date just because of what happened last time, but we've got to just put a stake in the ground, I think.
I would stay away from the 17th because Father's Day is the 18th. So I feel like maybe people are going to be already kind of planning that weekend. I would say the 10th.
Anybody else have a crystal ball?
I think I'm good with the 10th. I like the idea of the 10th. I agree the 3rd might be too early. My brother got married on the 10th. It was a beautiful day. Good weather. Remember that.
All right, we're going to bank on that, Eric.
I'll blame him. He usually gets most of the blame anyhow.
Daniel or Bev, any more to add?
Yeah, I think the 10th sounds good.
Okay, let's make it the 10th. So June 10th of 2023. I think what I'll do is I'm gonna make a huge list of, the places that I outreach to for publicity and the different vendors we had and who contacted them, and maybe like dole out to each of you some calls that you could make, if that's okay. So that we, get it locked in before mid-December, at least with the people that we, had offered the event to before. And then we should, think about doing more fundraising, because if we want to expand the number of performers, if we want to get a big tent in case it rains, it's going to cost a lot more than what we have. That's kind of, go ahead, Eric.
So I think 2 things. Just from what you were mentioning there, I think we should decide if this is a rain or shine date. if it's all or nothing, which, or if we're gonna have a rock solid rain date. Before, like, I think that's just as important as the first date, so I think we should decide on that. And then also with when you mentioned sponsorship, I think our first round of sponsors who were still nice enough to let us hold the money until this event get priority. I do know the few that I like, the Berkshire Property Agents was pretty excited that they were the only real estate agents that were sponsoring it, and I never really thought of that. So I was thinking maybe as moving forward, we just try to target other sponsors, not just, not that there's another junkyard or a Savage Yard around, but I guess I'm just saying so we don't have duplicates maybe. Just an idea, and I do feel that there's plenty of other people that would be interested. And then, yeah, obviously, I'm curious, although all the trees did get planted in the park and it looks like once they start growing, it will be pretty awesome. I wonder whether it's a big tent or just a shade kind of tent, still like a Mahawi tent style thing, but not so big. Would be a good idea in case it is, say, that first spring day that's 85 degrees and sun beating down on people too, so maybe not a giant grand tent or something, but I think those are three things that we should, the dates and rain date definitely need to sort out as soon as possible, and those
And
other
also,
something to think.
oh, I also spoke to Day Mountain Sound, and they have like sound covers for their speakers and everything. So a little bit of rain's not a big deal.
That's who was on board last year, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
through Brian House. Yeah, I ran into them at the Harvest Festival. They did
Yep.
sound there too, and they've been doing sound around here for a long time. So
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm happy to call Mahawi Tent and just see what size tents they have and how much they cost. I think based on, and this is just my opinion, based on what happened last time when we contacted, say, the food trucks, they were not prepared to come on the rain date at all. And they're probably booking dates way in advance. So I'm not sure we can reproduce the event if we do have a rain date. So maybe we should look towards it being a rain or shine. Yeah, it was hard. The dancers weren't ready to do that. I'm trying to think of some of the others. Yeah, it would have been difficult to do it on a rain date.
I like personally, I like the rain or shine policy. And even if it does rain a bit, I feel people will, we still have the possibilities of something moving forward, whether dancers don't want to show up or certain people don't, but I feel, unless it's a torrential downpour, I think we'd still get a turnout. So.
do we make a motion for rain or shine?
Oh, I think we can just either agree. Is everybody okay with that? How about a thumbs up?
Yeah, that sounds good.
So let's just go with that, and I will do some research into tents or a tent, and we can start to plan for that date.
Angela, Ben's got his hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Ben.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. I was just wondering, so with a rain date, or if it rained, do you think it'd be possible that we could reserve the community center and have that as like a venue for the dancing and the live entertainment?
I bet it is a good possibility. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I will contact Karen Smith and see if we can maneuver that for that date.
Okay.
Karen is the chair, so everybody knows, of the Parks and Recreation Committee at the town level. Great. Okay, anything else about June 10th, 2023? Okay. Let's go to all things Housatonic. Louise, you wanted to bring up an idea about the park.
So walking the dog by the park most days, twice a day. I find it interesting that on the workout equipment, which I believe is for adults, there's always kids on it. They just seem to be drawn to it. The thing that like swings back and forth. And I also have seen people, including one of my sons, who go there on days that they don't want to drive to the gym and use that equipment. So my thought was to request an additional piece of equipment to build out that little area into a more robust workout area. And my other thought was adding a second picnic table. So to expand that area for potentially a larger group to meet there and have an event. So those were my thoughts.
Okay. How do we make a formal request? Is that a request that goes to the town? Eric, can you tell me?
I would say, that would probably be a request that goes to Karen Smith as well.
Okay.
Same as, it would be, in my opinion, it's the same as what Tom Norton just did to get the trees there. So,
Okay, since I'm contacting her about the June 10th party in the park, I will check with her about these two things as well. And if she, for some reason, says, it's going to take 3 years to talk about a picnic table, maybe we can go to Housatonic the Beautiful and see if they'd like to raise the money for a new picnic table.
yeah, I would ask her that as well, because I have a feeling that since they just funded trees and whatnot, they might be concerned about the funding end of it. So maybe the question would be, a follow-up question would be about if it was donated.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great. Great. And I wanted to just note, thank you. That's super. Thanks, Louise. I just wanted to note that the trees look great.
Yeah.
It's great to see them mulched and, they're fairly large trees, so they're going to really look like they've been there for a while once they take off. And it's terrific. So yay for the town doing that.
Yeah. And they're doing a good job watering them, and they really seem to be sort of invested in caring for these little saplings. So yeah, town's doing a good job.
Great. Yeah, it's good. I think I forgot to put on this agenda. Maybe I did, but I don't have it in front of me. The idea that we're going to talk about the Housatonic School.
It's on the agenda.
Okay, sorry, I didn't print it. I just wrote it. So let's go to that. So what has happened since our last meeting is October 24th, the Arete developers, I think that's their name, from Canada made their presentation about the school. And then on November 7th, the group out of Williamstown made their presentation. Eric asked that this be put on the agenda, and I think it's great to talk about each one and then talk about whether this committee would like to make a statement to the select board, because they're going to make a decision on the 21st, which is this coming Monday. So I'll just open the floor to whoever would like to say whatever they would like to say.
So I just want to say a few things. I'm gonna, I've given quite a bit of thought, and I just want to point out some of the differences that I noticed. And the select board will be having conversation and discussion this coming Monday. So I'll probably step back from the conversation after this. But the big things I noticed was the significant change to the landscape around the school with the first proposal. The driveway was going to be expanded. I know there was a lot of talk that it wouldn't be going around the school, but on the hillside, I questioned the architect, and they're going to expand it past the telephone pole because that's where the property line is, or the flagpole. So that will be taken up. That will be a driveway to get the cars in and out and around the back. The main, and then the other main few things, I really like the idea, and obviously I know the committee did, of the mixed use, and the idea of digging out the basement, all that sounded great. The big thing I saw there was the price tag that they would be leaning on the town of Housatonic and Great Barrington for. They're looking for a lot of support from us, and I think they had the project down for about 5.7 million, maybe a little bit more than that, and they're looking close to 3 million from the town. So it was just about half for the town to fund it. So that made me think. But definitely very creative. Definitely all their drawings and everything were pretty beautiful. Very well thought out. The second proposal on November 7th was all market rate housing, or 100% of AMI. So the guy pointed out basically how I guess I would consider it working class in that general range. He would be asking $1,700 a month for rent. In that range, all 2-bedroom places, pretty large apartments. They're about 1,300 square feet. And they were going to be, their situation is going to swing on whether they get the historic tax credit for a lot of their funding. But the layouts looked good. They keep the general interior layout pretty similar, just coupling the rooms together. And then also their parking goes around the back side, and it would just be all lawn and landscape on the front side, on the park side. So they would be looking for the money that was put aside originally for the exterior of the building, I believe was $650. And then the environmental and possibly some sort of TIF or tax assistant in the beginning. So those were the big standouts in mine. Both had apartments, and I think we all know that housing is a big need in this area, no matter what rate it's at, whether it's affordable or low income, or workforce housing. I think my opinion is we need more of all the housing. So that's it. That's all. Just wanted to point those out.
Thank you, Eric. Since Chris Remble is still on the call, Chris, can I put you on the spot for a second?
Oops, my video is.
What struck me about the first proposal is that they included both the I think it was $625 for the envelope of the building, or $650,
650.
and then the money. Okay, and then the money that the town would have to spend to abate the hazardous materials, which is, was that 1.2?
I don't have the proposals in front of me. I mean, some of the hazardous materials are in the like in roof shingles and things like that. So that goes along with part of the envelope cost, or lead paint on windows that goes along with the envelope cost. But I don't have all of those details in front of me right now.
Yeah, and I know
Okay.
at the end, I got it written down at the end, the
uh,
first proposal was asking for 2.7 million in total, so. And then a tax agreement. So,
Yeah, Eric, can you clarify whether that 2.7 includes the 650 and other funds for hazardous materials abatement, or if that's just above and beyond?
that, I'm pretty sure that it includes all of it. It includes the 650. It included the line item that said, like environmental. I think they had a separate item for that.
Yeah, that sounds
Um,
right, Eric.
Yeah, and then there was just, you know, they're asking for a pretty large amount of money for the affordable housing portion of it too. That's what jumped it up even more. But I didn't break the numbers down individually, but I know at the end, because Ed and both Lee asked, or maybe it was Garfield, asked about the pockets of money, and the guy basically came out and said, we don't care which place you pull it from. This is what we need to make this project move forward in the timeline that we want, that, you know, we set out for, which was 18 months from start to finish. So they were asking the initial 650 cleanup and affordable housing funds. And I think that there might be one more line there, but basically all added up at the end to 2.7 and then a tax agreement. So.
Okay, thank you. Louise or Daniel or Bev?
I've been struggling with the fact that the folks who have the all 2-bedroom unit plan really just did not address our very strong request for a community space or community-minded space. And when asked about that, their response was, well, these units are clearly large enough for a family. And so there could be children in the building. And that was really their only nod to our request for a community space. So I'm struggling with that. They certainly have a pretty incredible track record of having completed these sorts of renovation restoration projects throughout the county over a period of decades. That is one question I had. I don't know that I know the history of the other developer and what sorts of projects, similar projects they have under their belt. So do we know that about them?
They had a couple of reference letters attached to their proposal. So they have done some projects. I don't know. I don't think I could say at this point if they've done as many as the group from Williamstown.
Mm-hmm. So I think the group from Williamstown is, and I know Angela, you know, you and I discussed this, but and both shared this thought that I feel like it's a cookie cutter, that they know they've done this before. They are doing all 2-bedroom. They're not having the variety of studios and 1-bedrooms. And you know, if they can get the money together, they pretty much know that this will work. They've done it before. It's not very imaginative. There's no, you know, there's no creativity. There's no particular creativity with gray water and landscaping and rain forests and any of that. So it's a much more conservative, circumscribed kind of approach. And I am drawn to the other one simply because it is much more responsive to the community's needs, much more creative. And I also like the fact that there's a variety of housing options, from low-income studios to 2 bedrooms. And of course, what other people have mentioned about digging out that ground floor and having commercial or public uses of some sort there. So I'm definitely drawn toward that one.
Okay. Daniel?
I think I'm drawn more towards the WDM properties, I think it is. Just because it is more conservative and we do need housing. It's just something, I don't know. I like to shop local when I can. That's all I got.
Okay, all right, thank you. Bev?
The WDM properties were only going to have 2-bedroom apartments. Is that true?
That's correct.
And the rent, I thought, was a little bit high. I know you have to have some income restrictions, and it was like $17.65, but that didn't include anything. And I don't know, I know rents around here are pretty high, but I thought that was really high. And I agree with Louise. I mean, I think it's better to have like studio apartments and 1-bedroom apartments also. So I agree with her that I like their proposal better, but that's my opinion.
Oh, thank you. No, that's great. Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome.
So I feel like the Arate proposal is much more imaginative and creative, and the timeline is more advantageous to the community. I'm a little leery of the Williamstown firm because they are reliant on historic tax credits, and that could really slow the project down. And I feel like they did not try to program the outdoors as, around the building and make it more people friendly. I also have some concerns because when we did our study to give to the select board, we did some research into what the construction costs are right now for commercial space. And we were told by several people that at that time it was $350 a square foot. If I look at the WDM proposal, it's very low per square foot. So I'm not really sure if the quality of it would be what we would like. So I definitely favor the Arate proposal, because we did, this group anyway really wanted to see some mixed use and, something other than just housing, and meet the need for some affordable housing. So they both are very interesting proposals, I have to say that. And certainly, I'm really glad that the town has 2 to choose from, because, oh, Chris, don't you smile like that. Yeah, I really think it's terrific that we are in an enviable position of having 2 strong proposals. Yeah, it's good. So does this group want to make have an opinion to send to the select board as a group, or do we want to Ed Abrams just raised his hand. Ed, go ahead.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
I'm speaking, I guess, as a select board member. When this recommendation comes to us, the question, there are two different proposals. I just want to be sure you're looking at the price tags at the same time, right? It is worth more to have this, or it's not worth more to have that, because that's going to be part of the decision. Does that make sense? As opposed to, we like this one better. I want to make sure you say to the select board, we've looked at the price of both proposals and we like this one better, or we like the other one better, but we don't like the price. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. That's why I was asking about whether the budgets for each of them included the town's 650 and also any money that would be needed for hazardous materials abatement, because it wasn't clear to me whether they both included that. So one price was much lower than the other.
My recollection is the same as Eric's, which is one proposal, when you added it all together, was 2.7 million plus a TIF, and the other one was the 650,000.
Right. But the one that costs less to the town is going to take longer to actualize because they need historic tax credits.
Right. Yeah, I'm not arguing for one over the other. I'm just saying when
Yeah,
you make your recommendation, okay, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, I understand what you're saying. Yes.
Okay.
I guess I was looking for the opinion that I had. I wasn't necessarily looking only at the cost.
Mhm.
So do we, so Eric, I realize you're probably gonna, withdraw from this conversation at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I have a idea of which way I'm going, but I'm gonna express that on the select board.
Yeah. So, maybe we don't want to make a statement or, send a recommendation or our opinion to the select board. Is that, where we are?
It will be Monday night if everybody wants to show up and give their individual opinions, or either whatever the committee thinks.
Louise or Daniel or Bev, do you want to weigh in on this?
I'm not sure how our recommendation would or would not move the needle of the select board. So I don't know if our vote, I'm just not sure it's how it would affect the outcome. Eric, do you have a sense of that?
I do. I have not. I don't know how it would affect other members, to be honest with you. I haven't discussed it with them. So
I think I'd just like to give my opinion maybe on Monday.
Okay, that's fine. Absolutely fine. Chris, you have your hand up. Whoop, where'd you go? Chris.
No, that's okay. I was going to just suggest that to Louise's comment about whether it moves the needle or not, the select board's decision criteria are, they're set forth in the RFP, and there's 5 or 6 different factors that they have to consider. So to the extent you wanted to try to move the needle one way or the other, it would be most effective to look at each of those factors and say, here's why we think it's good, better, best on each of these factors. Since the select board's decision is, pretty, there's a lot of things to consider. Yeah.
And that's that checklist that you guys had, right? That the select board had. Sorry for all the. Oh no, never mind. Never mind. That's just for the RFP. Sorry.
Anyway, if that
Mhm,
was
thank
going
you.
to help how you shaped your discussion, I wanted to put it out there.
Thank you.
Okay, so it sounds like if somebody on this committee would like to make a statement, follow Daniel's lead and attend the meeting and express your opinion at that meeting. And again, thank you to the town for going through all this. It's a huge amount of work and exciting at the same time. Okay. So that brings us to citizen speak. Does anyone want to say anything? I see a couple members of the public attending. Ben, go ahead.
I just had a question about the process for the school after Monday's meeting. Is it going to a vote on Monday, and then after the board votes, what exactly will happen as far as the chosen developer taking control of the property?
This is Chris, Angela, if I may.
Mhm.
Thanks, Ben. It's up to the select board whether or not they make a decision on Monday, so I don't know. It may just be discussion. They may need more time to make a decision. Once they do, if they do select one of the two teams, they'll vote to designate a developer and enter into some sort of contract negotiations with them. And then that will iron out the timeline as to who does what and when development can start, when town funds come into the picture, and eventually when the keys get turned over, if you will. So it's all part of a negotiation process after a designation is voted on.
And if there were any deed restrictions or anything, would that happen during that stage?
Yeah, that would all be negotiated at that stage. If there's anything that has to go to town meeting and in terms of accepting deed restrictions, appropriating additional funds, things like that, that would have to occur during that time.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Ed, do you have your hand up?
No. No.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right. Okay. Anybody else would like to say anything as part of citizen speak? Okay. Media. I see Eileen Mooney. Nope. Okay. Next meeting date. We've been going to a monthly meeting rather than every 2 weeks. So let's look ahead to December. And we did the third Thursday. So in December, that would be the 15th. Does that work for everyone?
I have a conflict that night.
Bev, Eric, Daniel,
The
and
15th,
Ben. I should ask Ben now too.
yeah. The 15th could work for me.
I could also do the 15th.
The 15th can work for me too, Angela.
Okay. Ben,
Yep, 15th, that works for me.
okay. I'll check with Scott, but it looks like the 15th is gonna work. And Louise,
I
you'd be
don't think
welcome
I
to
could make that one though.
come to the meeting if you can. And we'll set it for the 15th. Okay. Louise, would it make a difference if we change the time on the 15th?
Yes.
Earlier, later?
Yeah, earlier.
Okay.
I don't
then-
want to, I mean, whatever works for everybody else, but yes, I could do it at, 5:30.
Okay. How does that work for everybody else? That might be pushing it, but does 5:30 work for Bev, Ben, Daniel, Eric? Give me a thumbs up or a
Yes.
thumbs down.
5:30, I can make 5:30 work if it works for everyone.
Doesn't work for Daniel.
I can make 5:30 work.
It works for me.
Okay,
I can too.
okay. So, all right, so we would either lose Louise or lose Daniel.
But what about a Tuesday? Would the 13th be any different for anybody if we did it 2 days earlier on a Tuesday?
That would be fine with me.
Yep, that works for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna be out of town.
Okay.
No,
Bev or Daniel?
Oh, sorry, I'm looking it up real quick here.
Okay,
Yeah, I might have physical therapy that day. It's kind of crazy month.
okay. Let's stick with the 15th at 6:30, and Louise, we will just miss you.
okay.
Okay. All right. Does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
Would like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
And
Second
some,
that motion.
okay, and roll call. Eric?
Aye.
My vote is aye. Louise?
Aye.
Daniel?
Aye.
Bev?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. And I will officially let Ben and Scott know what has happened and let Mark Pruhensky know as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good
Bye.
night.
Aye.
Bye.